I had so much fear with a C-section and surgery just because it's surgery and it's scary and there's so many things that can happen. But I remember as soon as I heard him cry, it was just like my heart, I just felt like I could breathe again.
Oh, we are live. Oh, gosh.
We've been live this whole time.
We have been live. Okay.
Hello,
up, everybody.
Welcome back to Couple Things.
With Shawn and Andrew.
Podcast all about couples.
And the things they go through.
Sorry for that awkward intro where we're just sitting there silent for a minute.
We have taken the last 8 weeks off pretty much.
We have.
We've never been good at live streams, but here we are.
Never.
Give it another
I don't think
try.
we've ever started a live stream properly.
Are you blaming me? Because
No.
I'm the one who's usually in charge. Okay. So if you got beef, say something.
Yeah.
We're excited because we rarely get these chances to interact with you live. So we are going to be going through the comments. If you have any questions, anything you'd like us to talk about as we go through the birth story.
Yeah, we're going to try to get through a lot of stuff in the next hour because I feel like a lot of these topics we could talk about for an hour. So we're going to kind of skim through. But like Andrew said, we've taken the past 8 weeks off. That was something that I demanded this time around because with Drew, we took 2 days off before we started working again. And I was just a disaster. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. We did that all wrong. And this time it's been a lot better. I've been able to kind of go through the transition process, the hormones, the postpartum, which is totally still a thing, but I've gotten through a lot of the really thick of it, and I feel a little bit more human and able to work and take on more of this.
Let me say this, babe. One, I'm extremely grateful to have you and your perspective. We do an interesting thing where, some of the most vulnerable times for us as a family are when people want us to create the most videos and put out the most amount of whatever. And so had it not been for your nudge for us taking a break, I bet we would have gone pretty hard. So thank you for that. Second of all, you've done a fantastic job.
Thank you, baby.
Third of all, before we get into the narrative of the birth story, want to say welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't, please subscribe to the show. And whether you're listening live right now, if you are, hit the thumbs up, or later, please give it a rating. But let's just say hello to some people. So we got Rebecca Hoop. She says hello. Allie Lehman says hi, you too.
We have Morgan Santiago.
Yes. Nicole Mullaney.
Letitia.
What?
It could be either.
Okay. And what we're going to do, Lexi, if you wouldn't mind going through, we have Lexi behind the camera, who has also been integral for these past couple weeks. If you could go through the comments, and we're going to do Q&A at the end of the episode.
Okay, the last 10 minutes.
And so
we got to jump in. We have a lot of stuff to talk
You're
about.
excited, I think.
I just know we have a lot to talk about.
Let's do it then.
Okay.
I'm waiting on you.
Okay, so birth story. We covered a lot of it in our vlogs, but we wanted to go back and kind of walk you through it. If you don't know, we just had our second kid, Jett James East. We have Drew Hazel East, who is almost 2, and we just had our little boy, which is crazy. He's huge. He is literally the Hulk man. But let's start with leading up to the birth.
Yes.
If you guys don't know, we had a scheduled C-section. I ended up in an emergency C-section with Drew after 24 hours of labor and an induction because she was 2 weeks late and there were some complications. If you want to go back, there were a ton of different things, but I had a 2-vessel cord with her. There were some other risks or red flags with her that ended up being our best option.
I would say also one of the big contributing factors to that is I'm 6'2", Shawn is 4'11", and the first child was 8.5 pounds. This one was much bigger than that. We'll disclose that shortly. But the doctor said, even with Drew, there's no chance that baby was coming out any other way than a C-section. So
very long story said short, with Drew after the induction, her heart rate ended up being affected. She ended up getting stuck in my pelvis. She was never even able to drop.
Had a big cone head, the whole thing.
All these things. And we got 24 hours into labor and ended up, her heart rate dropped too much. So we went into the operating room and she was born about 4 minutes later, which was crazy. So this time it was in our best interest, in the baby's best interest, to kind of forego that. And so we scheduled the C-section. Again, just with some red flags. He was a lot bigger than Drew, and the doc thought it was the best. And we trust our doctors so much that that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
So we knew the day Jett James was coming, unless he came early. And so leading up to it, we were a wreck. We were not prepared or expecting that. But I remember every day the last week, we tried to do something like sentimental because we felt like this chapter of our lives was changing and ending forever. And it was just going to be this dramatic thing. So we went to like a family brunch. We had all of our friends come over and we did like a cookout.
I was in tears for like the 4 days leading up to it.
Same.
Pretty much. I think I was like extra hormonal in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah. You want to keep
Did I say
going
that
down
wrong?
that?
Did I say that wrong?
No, I agree. It was such a scary time, and it sounds dramatic, but Andrew and I remember right before Drew, Andrew and I were pretty emotional just because I didn't know what life would look like sharing my husband. And we had such a strong marriage, and we still do. I don't mean it in like a past tense, but it was such a strong marriage. And Andrew is my number one. You are my person. And I didn't know what it would be like sharing you with someone and trying to like split that love. And it really scared us. We didn't know how we would handle it, if it would affect our marriage in a bad way. I didn't know how I could possibly love like another human being as much as I love you. I'd never done it. And you hadn't either.
Yeah.
And so we had some tears.
I feel like every massive life change you go through, there's always this huge fear of wanting to hold on to where you're at now because you don't know what the next chapter is going to look like. And before Drew, we had Nash and we were traveling all over the place. We were doing, I feel like we were footloose and fancy free. And we were thinking, oh, there's no way we can love anybody more than we love Nash, our dog.
I know.
And then we had Drew, and the past 18 months have been heaven.
Yeah, the greatest.
Largely looking back on it, not perfect, but awesome. And then we were thinking about what is this going to be like? So there's always this kind of, I don't know, anxiety or concern of losing what you had. But we were generally optimistic that the next chapter we were going to look back on as we had on previous chapters to date and thought, wow, I can't believe that life looked any different than it does now, because now looks awesome.
Well, and to summarize again, something we could talk about for an entire episode, leading up to the week before we had Jett, we were really emotional because the first few months after Drew were really, really hard for us. I went through a lot of like postpartum, not issues, but just anything normal. I was up and down with, I don't want to say depression, but you could very well call it that. I struggled with my body and with my mental health, and we struggled as, husband and wife, trying to get back into the groove of just being each other's number one around the baby. And it's a huge transition. And so going into Jett, we were really scared of that happening again. And then we were also really scared of how that would affect Drew, because Drew is our baby girl. And I remember sitting there, you and I just started bawling. I was holding her and I was like, I'm afraid she's going to feel unloved. I'm afraid she's going to feel like she's in the back seat. I'm afraid she's not going to be like mommy's special little girl anymore. My biggest fear was that she wouldn't feel as loved as she felt before we had him.
Yeah.
And we cried about that many days in a row.
Hey, I'm putting up some pictures of us on the screen cuddling with Drew, because we thought this was going to be like the end of an era and we wouldn't hang out with Drew as much. But it's crazy. Donald, who's live with us, says that husbands do go through hormonal changes during pregnancy, which is very interesting. And then we had, I believe it was Susan said she had 3 C-sections.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. C-sections are hard on the body. I mean, so is a vaginal birth.
First of all, shout out to Matt, who says, may the Lord watch over and protect y'all and your family, and also sent a super chat. So thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. That was unnecessary.
Thank you. It was very sweet.
Yes.
Okay. So the week leading up, we had all of these emotional sessions.
Breakdowns. We
would be in the car and we'd just start crying. And then we would be at dinner and just start crying. And then we went to brunch the morning before the day we had Drew, and we were sitting at like this country club having breakfast, and we just started crying.
Yeah.
We were a wreck, but our life just felt so beautiful and perfect. We were scared of the change. So the day comes, or the night comes really, where, because it was a scheduled C-section, I was the first one of the day. So we had to be there by 5 a.m. So that night, I remember I got all showered and I dried my hair and I tried to make myself look cute. I remember putting Drew down for bed that night, and we both did it. We we did bath time together. We read books together. And I was just like, oh, my heart just like shattered. One, because it's just such a huge change. But two, because of all the protocols of the hospital, Drew actually wasn't allowed to come to the hospital. So we were saying goodbye to her for at least 3 days. And I just knew that when we saw her again, life would be so different. So that was a hard night too.
Yeah, that was crazy.
We ate a lot of cookies that night.
We were literally crushing cookies the whole past the week leading up to it, which is wild. But here's a picture of Shawn and I the morning of the hospital, just geeked / anxious. But I feel like having a scheduled C-section in some ways was way better because you just had the expectations that, okay, we don't have to, there's not going to be a surprise. But it also took a little bit of the fun out because when there's not something scheduled, you're like, today's the day, baby.
It's just happening. I think for us, it felt better because I don't want to say we had a traumatic delivery with Drew, but we had a very hard delivery with Drew where so many things happened and it was such a long process. Again, it wasn't a bad delivery. It was just so many things happened. So this one was definitely smoother. My parents came over this was something that we had agreed on with my parents the morning that we went to have Jett, was they said they would come over the night before and stay the night so we didn't have to worry. And I was like, no, I want my night with my husband and my daughter. Like, I don't want anybody here. I don't want to talk about it. I need you guys to wake up early and come here at 4:30. Yeah. Which is brutal on my part. I apologize. But they showed up at 4:30. We gave them a hug and we headed to the hospital. We checked in. We got our little C-section stickers, got into our room, and it was like things happened fast. Yeah.
First on that note, I feel like we delivered Jett. We together.
Yes.
Delivered him at a good time as far as the pandemic goes because the restrictions were maybe just loosening up a little bit before they started tightening back down again. So it didn't feel drastically different, though there were like some stations you had to check in and obviously wear a mask, the whole thing. So I feel fortunate as far as that timing goes. I will say we were really lucky. Our nurse that was with us when we delivered Drew was actually our nurse who delivered Jett, which Meredith. She requested us and we requested her. It was awesome.
Yeah, we didn't know like it was actually a thing, and I ran into her and I was like, "Wait, can we have you again?" And she was like, "Yes." It was amazing. So we showed up to the hospital, and again, we were so used to having the induction and going through 24 hours of labor, we didn't really know what to expect. I changed into my gown, and they started just the whole prepping process. It was really quick.
Today's episode is brought to you by Sling TV.
Babe, I just have to say, I am so glad we got Sling TV. It has been the perfect solution to our very interesting TV needs.
It really has been, which is why we are so insistent on sharing it with you here on our podcast. And even though it's only $35 a month, we want to help you guys experience the joy of Sling TV by giving you your first month for just $10.
We love how we can all watch what we want, create our ideal channel lineup, and never miss an episode of our favorite show, which is obviously The Bachelorette.
Okay. It's time, you guys, to get live TV for less with no contracts. Watch HGTV, AMC, ESPN, everything, and get the best value with all the flexibility.
Sign up now in just 5 minutes and start streaming now on your phone, tablet, or TV.
Don't miss out on this opportunity. It's a game changer.
If you are ready to finally take control of your TV solution, go to slingtv.com/EastFam to sign up now and get your first month for just $10.
That's slingtv.com/EastFam. Talk about did you take meds in the whole thing?
So I am kind of a hot mess with that. I did take, all of the medications necessary for a C-section. So I was on an IV. I was under general anesthesia. Well, not general anesthesia. I don't know what you would call it. I had a spinal block. I had a spinal block.
Nice.
There we go.
Good adjustment.
Or is it spinal tap?
I think it's a spinal tap.
I don't think it is.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. Maybe someone from the comments can tell me what I had. I had an epidural that was just upped during Drew's, but this one is a spinal. What? I had a spinal. So they, did all the IVs, took all the blood work back in like our room and prepped me for surgery. My nurses know me very well, and so does my doctor, who's also, we're very similar. She's like an avid CrossFitter. We're just very similar. I remember.
Jenny and Tori and Catherine all say spinal block. Yes.
I think I actually remember sitting on the operating table as they were giving me my spinal block, and I was talking about the spinal tap, and the guy was like, no.
Lauren says spinal tap is a test. LOL. Sorry.
Okay.
But there's a story as to why Shawn can't remember. It's because, well, we'll get there, but you were kind of messed up. But
I was messed up. I am a lightweight when it comes to anything. So anyways, fast forwarding, it was time to go into this, the operating room, and they usually put you in a wheelchair and they wheel you back. And I was like, can I just walk? Like, I know I'm going to be laying in bed for the next 48 hours. Can I just walk? And they laughed at me and they're like, I don't think we've ever had this request.
She straight walked into the operating room, had the whole pipes and IVs in, the whole thing.
I had things crazy. Dragging and clacking and being crazy.
Were you as nervous this time as with Drew?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Surgery is scary. I've been through many knee surgeries and I've been, through a lot of surgeries, and I just know I was just very nervous that I wanted to be okay, but more than anything, I wanted our baby to be okay. And it's a scary surgery. So walked into the operating room, got on the table. Andrew had to go sit in the waiting room for about an hour.
No, it was quick, dude. It was like a half hour.
Oh, like 30 minutes. Maybe. So they did the spinal block. And then I naturally have super, super low blood pressure. And this is the start of the downfall for me. During the whole process under anesthesia and the spinal block and just like general medication, because my blood pressure is so low, with the spinal block, it makes your blood pressure drop even lower. So I get very, very, very nauseous very easily because my blood pressure drops so much. So we had to kind of work on that medication during the entire surgery, where they would have to monitor my blood pressure. And so I was on so much anti-nausea medication and like medication to counter the blood pressure that I was just out of it. Yeah. I was loopy.
I could see it in your eyes. It was pretty weird to see, actually.
I felt it. I felt just like I was in a different dimension. But I do remember Andrew came in. I had like the shock shakes where you're just like in total shock and you just can't stop shaking. I had that with Drew too. But he was holding my hand, and I remember it just felt different this time. I think, again, because with Drew, we went through such a long process that was very painful and very hard for 24 hours that by the time we got to the C-section, it was just a relief. This time, jumping straight into it was a little bit harder, but the doc came in, started doing the C-section. Everything was great. Pulled little man out. He was screaming like as he came out, and they were so happy about that.
Yeah.
Because Drew came out purple and almost unresponsive.
They said, just like Drew, he had a really healthy umbilical cord. Mm-hmm. With Drew, there was like this 5-10 second pause where she wasn't crying and she was just laying on the doctor's palm, silent. And I got so scared. But with Jett, he came out, guns blazing.
I felt like he was screaming before he even came out.
And then what was amazing was as soon as he heard my voice, and then definitely as soon as he laid on you, he relaxed like immediately, which was, there's something so wild about the whole process, seeing the baby born, meeting him for the first time. And then I feel like there's this immediate bond that we experience because he knew it was us. How crazy is that?
It's so crazy. Cause I remember, again, I had so much fear with a C-section and surgery just because it's surgery and it's scary and there's so many things that can happen. But I remember as soon as I heard him cry, it was just like my heart, I just felt like I could breathe again, figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
And then I watched them take him over and like weigh him, and the entire operating room, we had like bets going on how much he weighed.
Crazy.
Because I was so large. My belly was so large.
Hold on. Here's a picture of Shawn holding Drew. That's how large. Do you remember that? Dude, you were pregnant.
Wait,
dude.
Holding Drew? You mean Jett?
No, you holding Drew with your belly popping out.
Oh, yeah.
Big.
But I remember everybody like stopped what they were doing and looked at the scale as he was laying down, because I thought he was going to be 9 pounds, like even. The doc thought he was going to be like 9 pounds even.
I thought 9.5.
You thought 9.5, and it like popped up, and he was 9 pounds, 13 ounces. And everybody just started laughing. They were like, holy crap.
I feel like we could round up to 10 at that point.
He's a 10-pound baby.
He's a 10-pound
baby.
Can we just, as we're listening to this, hit the thumbs up button to give Shawn just some cred for that? Would love to see that. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes off of that. Also, okay. Danny Carew, who sent an amazingly thoughtful gift our way, is saying she's going to send another birthday gift.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Sweet.
We feel very grateful to have whatever sort of relationship this is with so many of you. And then Shannon Johnson sent a super chat and says, y'all both are amazing. I think she really meant you're amazing. So kudos.
So Jett came out. He was 9 pounds, 13 ounces. He was 20.5 inches long. He was big boy. He was screaming bloody murder. Andrew literally walked over and put his hand on him. He stopped. And then they laid him on me while they like finished surgery and closed me up and everything. And he was just silent the whole time. And I was just in heaven and bliss. This is where it starts to get a little crazy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens, the most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage I have ever tried.
Being a mom of now 2 babies, which is crazy, while still recovering from having Jett, it can be super draining for my body, but I am so thankful for Athletic Greens to give me all of my nutrients I need to make sure my body is at 100%.
Babe, you're a machine, and I feel like the fuel that runs your machine is Athletic Greens. And considering that I'm not the best cook in the family to get you the nutrients you need, I'm extra thankful for Athletic Greens. I'm a huge fan of it for myself so that I get what I need for my training.
1 tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens superfood blend, and more.
All of these work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, increase energy and focus, aid with digestion, and support a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products.
So, from nursing moms to training dads, Athletic Greens has you covered. And right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system during the winter months.
Yep, they're offering our audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit our link today. You'll basically never have to buy vitamin D again.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today.
That's athleticgreens.com/EastFam. We'll also link it down below. Let's get back to it.
It was towards the end of the surgery when they were like closing me up and just like finishing everything. I started to feel not great. I started to feel a little too out of it. And I was still able to hold him. They were kind of like monitoring me. And I just remember I felt like I was in a different dimension and I felt sick. So we made it through the whole process. Andrew ended up holding him. They started wheeling me back to the room. And I feel like it was like, by the time we got back to the room, I was kind of out of it, a goner. I was just like in and out of sleeping and I could not stay awake at all. I remember like looking up at the lights and I like could not keep myself just with it. It was really weird. And that went on for, yeah.
Hold on. Sorry. Amy said that her daughter was 11 pounds, 5 ounces, 23 and a half.
Holy crap.
Inches long.
That's a big baby.
Good Lord. Also, all the people sending the thumbs up in the chat, thank you. But there is a thumbs up below the video portal, like video scene on the YouTube app. Just hit the thumbs up. Sorry.
No, that's great. I mean, you'll see the picture on the screen right now. I was out of it. That's basically like, by the time I tried holding him and nursing him, and I was able to nurse him for a little bit, and then I just like, I could not stay with it. So they ended up taking Jett from me and putting him with Andrew because I couldn't hold him. And then it was about an hour later.
Mm-hmm. Where you started throwing up?
It was an hour later where I got really sick. And I threw up for
long time.
7 hours. I think 7 hours straight. It was pretty brutal. I thought, especially with like my C-section, I thought I was going to just bust open every stitch that they had. I was so sick and they just kept pumping me, trying like with anti-nausea, just trying to counteract everything. but I literally puked for 7 hours straight.
Yeah. We were fortunate enough to have both our parents there again, at a time where the hospital was letting some visitors in. So we got to have her parents come in and meet the baby, which was super special. And then my parents drove down from Indianapolis, which is where I grew up. And they literally got in to the hospital, and they were outside her door. I went to go greet them, and then I said, well, let me check on Shawn real quick to make sure she's good with you guys coming in and feeling okay.
Oh my gosh.
And literally she just started yakking as soon as I turned back around.
Not even that. You walked back in and I had Jett, and I was like, take him. And I could not pass him over fast enough. And I was like, I'm going to puke.
The wild thing is you never throw up ever.
Never.
And you threw up for like 7 straight hours. Yeah. Meanwhile, she didn't really want me around helping. Like it was a tough position. No, hold on. I'm not saying my position was tough, but I didn't know how to help you out.
No, it was so hard. The nurse tried to help and stuff, but there was truly nothing that could be done because I was right out of post-op. I couldn't eat any food. Anything that I did that went in came straight back up. Again, all of this was caused because I have such low blood pressure that they were trying to make sure my blood pressure didn't drop scary low.
Yeah.
So all of the medication that I had to be on to prevent that from happening was making me very, very sick. So it was just a mess.
All that to say, my parents ended up being 10 yards away from meeting their new grandson, and then they had to wait like 5 more hours until Shawn started feeling better. But
so by that night, I was feeling a lot better. It was basically exactly 7 hours later, I felt like I snapped out of it. And I was like, okay, enough of the medication is worn off. It's out of my system.
Yeah.
I feel okay. I was able to hold Jett and just love on him and nurse him. And mom and dad got to come visit. My mom and dad got to come visit, which we were very lucky about. It was just perfect. And then that night I was able to get up, walk around, which is always so painful right after a C-section.
I'm trying to find a picture to share of you doing that.
Oh, and that's something else that's interesting. I don't take any pain medication after a C-section because I get so sick with medication on top of the anesthesia and the spinal and the blood pressure medication. I always refuse it, which is very hard. But I don't take Tylenol. I don't take anything. But always that first time getting up is pretty brutal.
Reading through a couple of these comments, Kelsey Ballard says that her best friend is 4'11" and had a 12-pound baby.
Holy.
And then cow. Rebecca Buchholz said that her sister naturally delivered her son at 12 pounds, 5 ounces. That's
scary. That's amazing though.
Kudos to you.
Kudos.
Anyway, here was an interesting thing from my perspective with Drew. I think she breastfed for like the first couple of days. Mm-hmm. Jett was almost immediately different in the sense that he was hooked on mom like 24/7. And so I was really pumped for a couple of days in the hospital where I think with Drew we spent 3 nights and we were fully expecting to spend another 3 nights in the hospital just because it's such a special time where there's a bunch of nurses who are coming to check on you, taking care of you. You don't really have to worry about anything else in the whole world. And so we were like, we want to do that for as long as we can. And then it turns out that we got super antsy and Jett didn't want anything to do with me. So I was just laying there on the couch. Like I got to hold him every once in a while, but it was still way different. So we ended up only staying at the hospital for 2 nights because 1, we missed Drew. 2, it was just way different. It
was so different. And we had been through it before. So we knew with Drew, it's like we had so much to learn and we were so intimidated and we were so scared to go home. But this time after 2 nights, they gave us all, the all clear. They said, you can stay as long as you want. You can stay another night. You can stay another 48 hours, which is like usual protocol. But they said, we can discharge you if you want. And we just felt like we wanted to go home. We felt comfortable enough with it. He was a night and day better nurser than Drew. We went through, if you guys followed our story, I went through some really tough days with Drew trying to figure out the whole nursing thing. We brought in lactation consultants. We tried everything. And she ended up just being a bottle fed baby. I exclusively pumped for 6 months, which was a whole nother thing. But Jett was just great at nursing from the time he came out, and he's still doing really well. It's still like a challenge, and it's new to learn because I was an exclusive pumper with Drew. I don't have like the experience. I'm still trying to figure it out, but he's still doing great. He's gaining a lot of weight, and it's been good.
So then, first of all, we have so many amazing friends. We're so thankful to have really fantastic people in our life. And our friends Josh and Chelsea Axe sent this epic like care package full of all of our favorite drinks like LaCroix, Fit Aid, all this stuff, balloons, bunch of snacks, flowers. It was like the ultimate care package.
It was everything.
Jimmy John's and sushi. Oh my gosh, they sent so much.
Sushi, groceries, a full thing of LaCroix, stuff of Fit Aid. It
was ridiculous.
Flowers, balloons, like everything. Yeah.
And then we got home and the Card My Yard people, if you remember, we did something with Laffy Taffy and they set up this epic card arrangement in our yard, and they did one for us welcoming back baby boy, which was really fun. And our friends, Quentin Dormady and Julie Fish, set up like this epic light setup with Jett's name. And it was all this big surprise that I feel like makes the transition home something to be excited about, as opposed to like being overwhelmed by the new task at hand, which is taking care of another baby. But we try to be super conscious with that first couple days after birth, and it's a massive change. So there's risk of postpartum depression too. There's risk of, a bunch of conflict between husband and wife, conflict with the kid and the existing kid. And so we had a bunch of friends there to help us, but also we do ridiculous things like only watch comedy movies to keep things light, as opposed to like all these dark murder mysteries. We just try to stay away from.
I love the dark murder mysteries, but we only watch the comedies when we come home.
We try to go on as many walks as possible. Let me see if I can find a picture of Jett back when he was a little guy, of us going on a walk. Also, he started sweating. I think he gets this from his dad. That dude sweats like nobody I've ever seen. But then we had your mom there to make meals for us, which we feel super fortunate about. And I feel like we did a pretty good job with the setup, We
did. We tried really hard this time to kind of have everything planned out and have like meal train, and we had my parents and we had friends and just everything. We tried to really protect ourselves this time so that we had as much help as we could get. There was another little ringer that happened. So again, going into Jett, we were so scared about like postpartum depression and just the transition, and with Drew, all of that. We get home. Drew loves him. It's a great introduction. Yeah. We had like these gifts bought for her that were from her brother.
Yeah. And Nash. We got Nash a gift too.
It was such a special day. And it was the day we got home and the day after. We had like 48 hours of pure bliss. Jett was sleeping really well through the night. Nursing was going well. It almost felt too good to be true, because it was. Day 3, we're home. Drew wakes up in the middle of the night, super sick. Ugh. We take her to the pediatrician in the morning because it was bad. And she had a nasty case of RSV and an ear infection.
Which we're not even like germaphobes or overly cautious when it comes to sickness, but our pediatrician, who's super chill, was like, your newborn shouldn't get RSV because it could turn into something serious. Yeah.
So this was a really rough week for us. We tried keeping Drew home for the first 48 hours of her RSV and ear infection. And we tried like just quarantining in the house. Jett and I basically lived in the nursery. Andrew took care of Drew. But it was, to say it was like the hardest 2 days of my life is maybe an understatement. Because I'm dealing with postpartum. I'm hormonal. I just want my baby girl. I'm trying to figure out how to nurse. I'm trying to deal with just how to take care of 2 babies. Drew is so sick, and she's just walking around the house crying for mama. Because of the quarantine, I really can't take care of her because of germs for Jett. It was so hard. I had many mental breakdowns where I was just sitting there bawling my eyes out for a long time.
Yeah, honestly, for the first 5 weeks Jett was with us, there was a ton of illness.
A ton of illness.
Who was sick? Me? I got sick. You got sick. We all got sick.
We all got sick. But so after the 48 hours, we actually ended up deciding with my parents and our pediatrician that Drew went and stayed with my parents at their house until she was better, because it was too hard on me. It was too hard on her. It didn't make sense for her why I came home with a new baby and I couldn't be around her. It was just, it was traumatic.
Yeah. Real quick, Deb Canby asked, did you know his name before you went to the hospital? She knows we were struggling with his name. No, we didn't. We were between, should we just share the names now? We were between Bo
James.
Didn't know how we were going to spell it. It was either going to be Beau or Bo.
But all I could think about was Bojangles. So I think that one was really out for me.
Then we had Bear. Which is a dope name, but Bear East, we like the ring of. And then Jett, which was kind of the third in line. This whole time, like before we even had Drew, we were hooked on the name Griffin for boys.
So before Drew, if Drew was a boy, he was going to be Griffin Dean, I still love. But this time around, we were just like, I'm just not feeling it. And
I feel like as soon as we both met Jett, we knew that he wasn't a Bo or a Bear. He was a Jett. So we went with it. And the background, first of all, when you shared this story in your Instagram post, I don't feel like you used enough words. You just said it's your great grandma's name or something like that. But
so we were doing, we actually did a campaign with Ancestry.com, which was really cool. And we got to see our entire family trees and learn about different ancestors. And one of so on my dad's side of the family, my great, great, great grandmother, her name was Jett. Jett.
And it's short for Judah, which is I think Judah and Jett both stand for excellence is the name behind it. So I don't know.
And we just fell in love with it. We were literally in the middle of this campaign shooting a commercial, and I like read the name and we like looked at each other and we were like,
that's it.
That's the name.
And then we like JJ. We like, there's a bunch of playoffs that we like on it. But anyway, remember we're about to get into the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions, please drop them. I do want to give Dawn Fletcher a shout out. Says that she exclusively breastfed her son and exclusively pumped for a friend's baby for 13 months, Shawn.
That's incredible.
Here's what's wild. First of all, we love hearing your stories. It also is humbling and it's also inspiring because like, that's amazing. Think about that. Dude, she was just breastfeeding, doing the breast milk thing all day, every day.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that,
for over a year. A common question that people have been asking is how was the transition postpartum process different between Drew and Jett? So like C-section and postpartum. After Drew, I didn't do a good enough job taking care of myself on top of taking care of her. So I think the postpartum process was harder. There were a lot more mental breakdowns and just like a need for help that I was afraid to ask for. And I think I had a harder time with my C-section recovery then as well, just trying to like learn the process. Having gone through that, I think made this process easier because I was so hyper aware and afraid that I would go through that again. So I've been just super vigilant about diligent. There we go. Vigilante. I've been super diligent about like taking vitamins and talking to Andrew and being very open when I have like a hard day or a bad day. My C-section has been, I think, better this time around than last time. I was able to be mobile quicker. I think I was more cautious for the required 6 weeks this time than I was with Drew, which
you did really well.
Helped me heal a lot faster.
Shawn was walking around though, just a couple hours after the surgery. So kudos to you. But also you always get this weird rash.
Oh
my gosh. It's like this massive,
I
would show a picture, but I don't think you want to see it. So I won't show it, but
you can, I don't care.
Really?
Yeah. I got it with Drew and then I got it right after Jett and it is miserable.
Itchy?
And oh my gosh, it's the most painful and itchiest rash ever. They think it might be like a latex reaction or from the tape or from the iodine or something, but we can't figure it out. I mean, I'm not having C-sections and surgeries back and forth. So it's not like we can, figure it out quickly. But yeah, I have it for about 4 weeks before it gets any better. And it's just miserable.
Today's episode is brought to you by Best Fiends.
Hey, baby, want to play a game?
Yeah, sure. What game?
Best Fiends, of course. I mean, I've gotten pretty good at it since all I do is nurse these days and work on my PR.
Yes. I'm proud of you, babe. I've been loving playing it too myself. I guess we'll just have to see who is the ultimate fiend.
If you've listened to this show for a while, you know we are obsessed with Best Fiends. It's got thousands of levels. You can form teams, and there's always a new challenge, which is a good mental pick-me-up considering we are a little sleep deprived these days with a new baby.
You know what we have never considered doing, and maybe we should, is just actually joining a team.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't have to be a rivalry.
But I can't be on your team.
Okay, see, that's the issue.
Yeah.
I truly can't put down Best Fiends. You know I love some good competition, and this game has an actual storyline, good guys and bad guys, the whole thing. Not to brag, but I personally am crushing this game.
Yeah, okay, we'll see about that. Download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. We'll also link down below, and let's get back to it. I'm also going to share a picture of Shawn doing a handstand, no joke, 2 days after, wait, hold on, 2 days after we got home. So 4 days after we had Jett.
Yeah, that's bad. Don't ever do that. It's a very poor decision.
Would not recommend, but it's amazing nonetheless. Where's this picture of the rash? Dang it, we need to find it.
It was in there. I saw it.
Well, let's get to some questions. First of all, Chelsea Ann wants to know what Drew calls Jett. You got an answer for that?
What Drew calls Jett?
What Drew calls Jett, yeah.
JJ, brother, baby.
She's starting to say some really good words. It's been so fun. She'll like literally repeat a word from every sentence that we say. Mm-hmm. Next question is, Samantha Ross wants to know how your breastfeeding journey is. It's so different for everyone. Is it harder or easier than exclusively pumping? We should probably do a whole episode on this, to be honest with you. That's a whole different story, but give a high level overview.
High level overview. It's completely different. So I got so used to exclusively pumping that that's the only thing that I knew. And I figured breastfeeding would just be so much easier. And I think that was just naive of me to think because I hadn't done it before. With Drew, the overview is she breastfed for like 2 or 3 weeks and then stopped. We tried to fix it, but it didn't work. So I started pumping. With Jett, he's just been breastfeeding this whole time. It's easier and harder in different ways. It's going well, and he's a great nurser, and he gets a lot of milk, and I make a lot of milk. But it is different because you're so isolated, and it's your baby is now so dependent on you. With pumping, there was some sort of freedom, but also not, to being able to pump and have anybody feed Drew, whether I was working or traveling. With Jett now, with nursing, it's just like this dependency thing that we are figuring out, which is amazing. I get so much time with him. But I think Andrew and I talk about it a lot. The dependency factor can make you feel isolated and alone a lot.
Yeah. I'm sharing this picture real quick of, wait, no, not that one, of you doing a handstand. Mm-hmm.
Sarah H said, I'm a mother to be. I'm actually more worried about my husband during labor. What did Andrew bring with him to help keep him calm during either births?
Ooh, how did I stay calm? Jeez.
You panicked the first time.
Yeah, it's a scary experience, dude. I came prepared with the music. I came prepared with snacks and my phone, really. I feel like whenever I was overly anxious, I would try to distract myself, which is how I deal with stressful situations, is try to think about them less. And then I just try to help you out in whatever way I could, which was another way of distracting myself. So your husband's going to do great. This is what he was made for. So I'm excited for you to go through it together.
I think too, something that we did is we just agreed at the very beginning that I needed to be very vocal with what I needed from him. Mm-hmm. So we talked about like him filming or taking pictures or whatever. And I just said, I'm great with anything, but if at that moment I ask for something, like I need you to hold my hand, I need you to sit with me, I need you to calm me down, I need you to be funny, whatever, I need you to listen to that. So.
And I can be funny on demand. So if you need more of that, just let me know.
Logan Rush, how has Drew adapted to having a little brother? We have been very lucky. It has gone very smooth besides the RSV. She's in love with him and obsessed with him. When she comes down in the morning after we wake her up, she wants to see him first and wants to give him a kiss and a hug. We've just really tried to make sure that she still knows that she is our baby girl and we love them both equally. Mm-hmm. And we spend as much time with both, but yeah.
She's cute. She is getting into a phase where she's hitting mom and other people. So we're a little nervous about how that's going to go over. She's she definitely probably is more rough by nature. So when she tries to lay on him or like she'll pat him really aggressively, and we got to tell her to calm down. But real quick, I'm curious, this is the picture of the rash. If any of you know what might be the cause of that, we think it might be the iodine or the adhesive.
The adhesive.
Like an allergic reaction to that. So let us know. I'll get it off the screen now. Next question.
That's aggressive. That's a bad rash.
It was bigger than that too.
Yeah,
that
it
was
usually
like a couple
covers
weeks
like
after.
my whole belly. Next question is, can you two talk about how you knew you're ready for kids? Currently married with one pup, and we have the same feelings of what might a baby do to our family.
That's from Ashley Pratzel. By the way, thank you, Catherine Samuel, for being so participatory in this. But that question's from Ashley. How did we know we were ready for kids?
Well, put bluntly, we accidentally got pregnant. We miscarried that pregnancy, and that sparked a lot of conversation of, are we ready? Are we not? And I don't think you'll ever fully feel ready, ever, because it's such a scary and huge transition. But I think in your hearts, if you feel like your marriage and your partnership is strong enough to go through a transition that big, you're ready.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you're at the point where you understand that life isn't about fulfilling all your own hopes and dreams. Not that you have to be so selfless in parenting, and you won't be as selfless as you need to be until you actually have a kid. But like, there's so much sacrifice of, we've traveled. I feel like we both appreciate travel, and that was something we had to sacrifice. We both appreciate, alone time and quiet time, and you just don't have that. And so I think when you're ready to embark on the journey of, hey, I'm going to start, devoting most of my time to another thing, you're probably close to being ready. But marriage is a great first step to that, because you get introduced to having to, abide by someone else's dreams and hopes and schedule. So kids is just that, I feel like, on steroids.
I think it's the same exact conversation, hear me out on this one, that you have with your spouse of, should we get a dog? Like, if you're both are willing to make that sacrifice and put effort towards a dog and take care of them, it's just a bigger conversation with a kid, but it's the same concept.
Alicia Gratton wants to know if there's any advice we have for first-time parents. We just recommended a couple books. Also, I would say understanding that things go in phases. And so the first couple weeks will be a massive transition from 0 to 1 kids. You're just going through this identity shift of, becoming a parent, which is huge. And there's a lot of conflict that can happen, a lot of, questions that you have, but that's a phase. And then you enter in this phase of 6 to however old Drew is now, 18 months, which is so much fun.
So much fun. It's my favorite age so far. I say that every time she gets a month older. So
for better or for worse, things are a phase. But also, what's the book you like to recommend?
Emily
Oster, Crib Sheet.
Yeah,
is one of them.
She's a couple other relatable book I've ever read, because it just makes you feel human and like you're making the right decision for your kid.
Yeah, and
whatever that decision is.
We say this all the time. There is really no right or wrong. If your priority is to take care of your kid and love your kid, then your style is the best that you can do. So don't worry about there's tons of studies that can get you stressed out about you have to do this to raise your IQ, or you have to do that for a longer life. And it's like, don't get caught up in that. Just do the best you can. Otherwise, it's going to be way more stressful. We have a couple more.
Yeah. How's the transition been with 2 under 2? I personally don't think it's bad, only because since we're already in the baby phase, we're still changing diapers. We're just changing more of them. It's like we just had 2 babies. What would you say?
It's definitely been tough. We have way less time. There's always someone crying. I feel like the pockets of focus that we have last anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes max. Yeah. And so trying to get work done, or trying to get chores done, or trying to have serious adult conversations, those opportunities come around way fewer and way more sparsely than they did before. So you kind of have to figure out what the new system is. Let's do one more question and then we will wrap it up. But this has been a good little 50 minutes here. Yeah. Oh, how about this? Amy Rutledge asked if you were upset you weren't able to do a VBAC.
Oh, yes and no. let me give like the longer version. So going into Drew, I had this 100% dead set plan. I wanted to give birth, quote unquote, naturally, so vaginally, and I didn't want to do any medications. I was very set on that. But then one thing after another happened, and it was like with every decision, it was in the best interest of Drew. So we're going to do the induction because of the red flags. We're going to do an epidural because I was being compromised and that was compromising her. And then we were going to do the emergency C-section because she was being compromised again. So very quickly, I just learned that having a plan, it's really not up to you. It's up to your baby and it's up to just what happens. And going into Jett, yeah, I had preferences and ideas, but I honestly didn't care. At the end of the day, I was going to sit down with my doctor and say, what is best for him? And when we decided the C-section was the best for him, I could have cared less. I was like, whatever we need to do for him is what we will do. So,
yeah, you did a great job. Doc Holder wants to know if you're getting ready for Paris now, the Olympics.
Yeah.
No, like getting ready.
No.
And then Jay Snow asked how Nash is doing with both babies.
I think better with Jett than he did with Drew.
I think so too.
We should give him more love though.
We had a good night last night. He found a baseball and he was so pumped about it. But
he was so excited.
He's a freaking good dog. Also, he just lost a tooth, which was tragic.
I know.
But whenever you pet him long enough, he opens his mouth like in pants. And I saw that he had a tooth that was like horizontal, which he has perfect straight teeth. Mm-hmm. And then I touched it and it almost fell out. So we had to get it removed and I was sad. But the dude's a champ. Here's what we'll do. Let's do a couple shout outs and we'll sign off. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. Hit the thumbs up on the YouTube platform. And then let's just say hello to Lisa Blair, Laura Thompson, Amy Settle, Bree Covey, Cynthia Robertson, Veronica Murrow,
Tori Megan.
Yes. Morgan Santiago, Mandy Nolan. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We will be publishing this episode live on the podcast platform tomorrow. And if you like these live streams, we love it. Just let us know. But we are going on a couple things live tour in 2022.
I completely forgot about that.
We've been through a lot the past couple months, so it's okay. Journey says happy birthday, Andrew. It is my birthday.
Yeah.
On Friday. Thank you.
Hubby's turning 30.
I'm turning 30. But let me say this.
On Friday.
Is it Friday?
It's Thursday.
Are you sure? The 17th.
No, it's definitely Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for remembering, babe. I hope you had the party planned. We love getting to share our stories with you. We love hearing your stories as well. So thank you for participating. And we couldn't be more grateful to have this community of what I feel like is a rarely positive group of people who supports and encourages each other. So thank you for keeping it that way. We view our mission as supporting and encouraging families through sharing our stories and thus allowing other people to share theirs. So that's what we're trying to do here is just make families cool again, you know? Yeah. So thanks for being a part of Journey. That's all we got for you. I'm Andrew.
I'm Shawn.
And we are the East Fam out.